Now let us talk about incomplete dominance. We had discussed that one of the qualities of Mendelian characteristics was that it was discrete, that in any case we are not going to find blending of characters. That is what discrete means, that Mendel ensured that there won't be any blending of characters. Now supposedly you have a pink, white flower and a violet flower, as in the case of pea plant, you're not going to get light colored flower, intermediate between the both. You are going to get either violet, or in other condition it would be white. Now depending upon the cross, monohybrid or dihybrid, we had different probabilities of achieving different outcomes. Now in the case of incomplete dominance, this is one example where we see blending. But I am going to correct myself when we end up this lesson, that again it is not example of blending. Mendel still holds ground in today's genetic studies as well, because his understanding of genetics and his mathematical inferences that he reached upon, they were foolproof, okay, even today. So what incomplete dominance is, as the name suggests, that the dominant character will not be dominant completely. It will show some lesser amount of dominance. Now when I say lesser amount of dominance, does that mean blending? It appears to be like blending, but it is not blending. Why? How it appears to be blending? Let's see. We have the example of snapdragon, that is a flower, or antirrhinum, and commonly it is called dog flower. You must find it in any other garden, house garden, and it looks like a dog. It has many colors. We take the example of red and white flowers. Now, considering red as dominant and white as recessive, we get the F1 generation that should be red, but it comes out to be pink, intermediate between red and white. When this pink flower is self-bred, that means this is F1, these are parents, this is the genotype of parents, this is the genotype of F1, or F1 on selfing would give rise to these probable genotypes. And as you know, this is a similar cross that we have in tall plant and dwarf plant. It is almost similar. We get the same genotype. So the genotypic ratio that we have is is 1:2:1, similar to the crosses that we did earlier. But here the phenotypic ratio is different. It is not 3:1 as we did earlier. Here you can make it out that this would be red. As we saw, it was pink. So we have pink, and we have white. So this is what we are going to find, that you are going to find 1 red, 2 pink and 1 white. So phenotypic ratio is similar to genotypic ratio. This is what incomplete dominance is, that when you cross two individuals, instead of either getting the dominant or the recessive, what you find is that there is an intermediate. Points of learning is that genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio are identical. Alright, there is an additional phenotype which lies intermediate between two extremes. Okay, and that is in between the both expressions. Now what you have to keep in mind, that how this phenotypic ratio arrives. Why is this arrangement, how is this arrangement possible, that though there isn't any blending, the dominance is not as expected? The name suggests that this being the allele for red, when present in a pair, is expressing itself, and when it is not present in pair, it is not expressing itself completely. This doesn't mean that it is the recessive genotype which has mixed with this that gave rise to this particular pink coloration. Now pay attention to this. every gene is responsible for production of some kind of protein. We know that if we are considering a gene, it would give rise to a protein. For now, you don't know the biochemical characterization of this particular process, but do remember, a gene expresses itself in the form of a character only if it produces a specific protein. Now, when we have this allele, it produces a specific protein. Now, supposedly, the amount of protein required for expression of red supposedly is 4 grams, supposedly, okay? Until and unless it is 4 grams, it cannot produce red coloration. In the condition of complete dominance, out of the dominant paired allele, this allele is also producing 4 grams and this would also be producing 4 grams. So, whether it is present singularly or it is present in pair, it is going to produce 4 grams and red color would be achieved. But when an allele is incompletely dominant, now this single R is producing 2 grams and this is also producing 2 grams. It is not producing as much protein as is required for expression. It is producing less. This does not mean that it is producing 4 and it is producing 2. No, it is not producing that protein. In the case of recessive, that protein is not being produced. So here we have 0, here we have 2 only. So you get 2 grams here, that is why the expression is lighter. That means the dominance is incomplete, and over here it is 0 because it is completely recessive. So if we have one protein which is responsible for expression of a particular character, that dominant trait, and the recessive trait does not have that protein being produced, in the case of incompletely dominant, the protein that is produced is in lesser quantity, due to which the expression seems incomplete. So in any case, again, it is not blending. Recessive here also has no expression in comparison to the dominant. Again, it is the dominant itself which is expressing in lesser quantity. So as I told you in the beginning, that in the end I would say that it is not blending. I hope I am clear that here this does not express any color, okay? It is not that red is mixed with white giving rise to pink. No, here the red is lesser red, not mixed with white. This you have to keep in mind, and that is all about incomplete dominance.